want you to picture leading an animal rescue in your mind. What are you imagining? Driving up to vacant yards with abandoned dogs out back, wagging their tails gratefully when they see you, or experiencing that moment you can just tell a special animal relaxes and finally feels safe. Or maybe the thrill and joy of seeing an animal you rescued find their perfect home, receiving pictures of them curling up on the couch with their new family, and knowing you helped make that happen. These moments are certainly part of the story, but it turns out there's a lot more you wouldn't expect to starting and running an animal rescue organization. In our 9th episode of our Changemaker Cafe Animal Rescue series, we'll talk through your options for leading animal rescue efforts in your community and the pros and cons of each. Discover 3 surprising aspects of running an animal rescue that you might not have thought about, and go through the basic steps to starting an animal rescue nonprofit. If you haven't yet caught the other episodes of this series, don't worry, you can find them all on our channel, as well as other social impact topics like how to fundraise or recruit volunteers. Very important. As always, you can download the series action guide for resources and tips to tackle these issues in your community, whether you're aiming to start a nonprofit or a socially conscious business, serve as a volunteer or a board member, raise funds or awareness, and more, all at changemakercafe.com. Thank you to Click and Pledge for sponsoring this series. Ready? Let's get curious. There's a bit that goes into getting an animal rescue effort off the ground. There's also more than one way to go about it, so let's start the conversation there. So you want to do animal rescue work. What exactly are your options? Well, it really depends on how much time and resources you plan to put into the effort. Rescuing animals by serving as a foster home for adoptable pets or volunteering through an existing animal shelter or rescue is a great option. There are thousands of shelters and rescues across the United States, and they greatly need the time and talents of changemakers from all walks of life. This option allows you to make a big impact while avoiding having to do the upkeep required to lead your own organization. So if you're only interested in tasks where you're directly helping animals rather than administrative or management tasks, this could be a great option for you. We've got some resources for you to explore that option in our downloadable series action guide at changemakercafe.com. Don't forget. But if you're exploring starting an animal rescue organization, what are your options for that? It starts with choosing the legal structure of your organization. Generally, animal rescues are nonprofits, but there are 2 kinds of nonprofits to consider. There's public charities or private operating foundations. Let's talk about the difference. Odds are most animal rescues you've seen are the public charity variety. Simply put, choosing the public charity format means that you expect to raise money for the rescue from other people in the community through donations, grants, sponsorships, or other types of fundraising. It means you'll be required to have a board of directors made up of mostly people unrelated to you. That means they're mostly not just family members or business partners. How many board members you're legally required to have varies by state, so you'll want to find your state's laws on that. And of course, you'll also need to register as a nonprofit with both your state and federal governments. Now, private operating foundations are a different type of nonprofit. They are mostly funded by just a few donors, usually including you as the founder. If you expect to self-fund the organization rather than fundraise publicly, this could be an option to explore. You have more control over who serves on your board in a private operating foundation. You'll still need to register as a nonprofit with your state and federal governments, and may be subject to other compliance as well. So go ahead and learn more about these and other nonprofit structures on other videos on my channel. You may be wondering, can't you just have an animal rescue organization that operates informally? Do you have to go through the trouble of recruiting a board of directors and registering your organization and dealing with annual compliance? Before you go that route, there are a few issues you'll want to consider. On the organization side, operating informally as an individual means, first, your donations to your efforts won't be tax deductible. Second, the IRS may view any donations to your efforts as taxable income that you will personally have to pay taxes on. Third, you won't have access to grants or sponsorships like official charities would. And fourth, the public might not perceive your efforts as credible, which might make them less willing to support them. In addition to those issues, you're also likely to face additional personal risk and liability. For example, if you go into debt, you'll be personally responsible for covering those costs with your own money. If an animal in your care is injured or injures someone, or property gets damaged, or you operate without the right permits, you could face lawsuits personally rather than have the protection of a legal entity. You might not have access to affordable liability insurance if you're working on your own, or you might not be in compliance with certain licensing or permitting laws in your local area. So if you're going the route of forming an official animal rescue nonprofit, what else do you need to think about? There are 3 things in particular that you might not expect. First, as we kind of alluded to, animal rescue operations require financial, legal, and administrative skills. Think starting an animal rescue is just about rescuing animals? As the founder or leader of an animal rescue nonprofit, you'll have to wear many hats, including creating and managing budgets, helping with financial reporting and annual tax filings, developing fundraising plans and raising money, obtaining necessary permits and licenses, securing insurance to protect yourself, your volunteers, and your animals, recruiting and managing volunteers, creating policies and good governance strategies with your board of directors, and if you hire any staff, complying with your region's employment laws, overseeing payroll, and developing human resources structures. Oh, and of course, actually rescuing the animals and helping them get care and housing. All of this can basically feel like running a business, but with the right mindset and persistence, it is possible. Molly Goldston is the founder and executive director of Saving Grace, an animal rescue nonprofit in Wake Forest, North Carolina. Since launching her organization, she and her team have helped over 30,000 animals get into loving homes. Let's hear a few tips from Molly for fellow animal rescue startup founders.
What are some of the special considerations that people who might be thinking of starting an animal rescue might need to have, from legal, permitting, insurance, special training for your board and volunteers?
Yeah. There are some guidelines and laws in the state, and those vary with each state. So finding out what you have to be accountable for is really important. So in North Carolina, there's really not a lot that we wouldn't comply with anyway. We want to make sure that, we don't have dogs in conditions that aren't humane, and that we provide all the necessary care, that they have water 24 hours a day, and they have a dry, clean space to live, and they have enough interaction with people. So those are all things that we would do anyway. We've also had to, insurance has always been an issue as far as making sure that you're covered not only with the people coming to Saving Grace, but when we go out and about to events, or for different drivers who are going on transports or taking dogs different places. So we had to get insurance for all of that, and not every insurance carrier wants to insure you, but there are some out there, and it is not cheap. Trying to factor all of that into your fundraising and your budget is really important. So, a lot of times people are like, why is your adoption fee so much? Well, it doesn't just cover the medical care your animal got. It covers all the services that it took to get an animal to you. So
That's really exciting because what she just described is assessing your true costs, and that's what we've talked about in a few other videos. Is it's not overhead, it's part of what she needs to do in order to carry out the rest of her mission. So we talked about some special legal considerations, some insurance. What else do people considering starting a nonprofit animal rescue need to consider?
I think one of the best things that I did was work for a shelter, a county shelter, before I ever started Saving Grace. I worked for a county shelter, and I also worked doing a lot of dog training and some behavior work. And so I got to see from the county side just how their position too. So our main partners are different counties that don't have adoption programs, and they rely on their dogs to come to Saving Grace to have a chance for adoption. And that's true with a lot of shelters all over, the United States. Is we want to partner with the rescues, but the rescues also have to know just what those people are up against.
Right.
So knowing that you're going to get dogs that you might not know a lot about, knowing that they are not at the leisure of holding until you have a foster. So it's up to you to say, crank it up and find more fosters, or say, we can't accommodate those, which is always, sad. There's always more dogs than we can accommodate. But, also knowing the county or state requirements so that you can adopt out under the same rules as they are required to enforce. So I'm really glad that I got to know from their side what they deal with.
Something else that might surprise you is the importance of partnerships and collaborations in the animal rescue ecosystem. Building relationships is really important.
So, we work a lot with the counties. So those are the facilities that are bringing in all the strays or the surrenders. We also work a lot with the different organizations, the smaller rescues, so in our community. And that's a lot of times, like, maybe we have somebody who wants to donate a truckload of food to us, and it feels like a lot of times we either have so much of something,
right,
or we have nothing, so it's
right,
like we are out of food and we make an ask to the community, and then we get all this food donated, and then like a week later a big food company calls and is like, hey, can you take a shipment of food? And we might not have room, but having connections with people in our community that might be a smaller organization that doesn't really have a reputation yet for some of these big companies who want to donate a truckload of food, trying to keep our resources kind of piled together or pulled together in the community so that we can share, has definitely worked really well, I think, for us and for the smaller rescues who might not, again, be able to accept a donation that, is more than they can handle, but we could split it among different ones. Or sometimes, there'll be like a dog that we get in at Saving Grace that jumps a fence. So we might do like a trade with another shelter that's only indoors and doesn't have outdoor spaces, and so that dog is more likely to get adopted there. So I think definitely as the years have gone on and people have become more aware of each other and pulling the resources together, that's been really great. And
to recap these insights from Molly, as a rescue, but especially a startup animal rescue, you'll want to partner with other organizations to share resources and get referrals for animals in need. And remember that establishing credibility and trust can take time. Start by visiting shelters and other rescues and providing mutual support as you build a relationship. Third, and finally, you might be surprised by the time commitment involved in getting a successful animal rescue nonprofit off the ground. So prepare yourself physically and mentally for the long haul.
I think just have a realistic expectation of how much work it's going to take and how long it's going to take for you to establish the relationships and, and have an established organization, because it takes a long time and a lot more work than I think you probably would really expect, especially when it's animals, because they get sick, 24/7, 365 days a year. So you can definitely go on vacation. A lot of people are like, do you ever get a break? Yes, but not until I had a really good team established could I really take a break. So now that I have a good team established, I have somebody who can answer and say, well, I'll help you with this dog that's in an emergency, because emergencies happen all the time. And it's always, you have to help that dog at that time. So, so having the needs, and I think also the funds to be able to help in an emergency. In the beginning, that was hard because it was like, okay, we just trying to go week to week and make sure everybody's had the medication and the needs they had. And, I couldn't consider myself an employee for about the first 10 years. It took about 10 years. So if you want to do it full time, then, having the expectation that it's going to take a lot of time before you can actually support yourself doing it, I think is really important.
As Molly and other animal rescue founders will tell you, it's really important to plan for patience and steady growth. Get a strong team in place so you can take a break now and then. And make sure you have a way to pay your own bills, because even if you plan to work full time for the animal rescue one day, getting to that point of financial stability could take a few years. So, what are the basic legal steps you need to take to form an official animal rescue nonprofit? Here are the highlights, but be sure to check your state or region's nonprofit rules too, because they do vary and could include some additional or varying steps. First, you need to assemble your board of directors with the required number of board members and the appropriate skills. Then you need to choose a unique name for your organization. You want to create your nonprofit's business plan. This is really important, including how you plan to fundraise and the estimated costs. Create your organization's legal documents. That's going to be your bylaws and your conflict of interest policies. File articles of incorporation with your state, and apply, finally, for federal tax-exempt status using Form 1023. None of these videos would be possible without our series sponsor, Click and Pledge. If you're aiming to fundraise for a cause, or you're part of a nonprofit, or you're starting a nonprofit, you don't want to miss checking them out. Click and Pledge is a comprehensive fundraising platform for nonprofits ready to raise money and grow their impacts. Their robust fundraising features include so much like donation forms, in-person fundraising for when you're at an event and you need to get that donation, text to give, peer-to-peer fundraising that allows supporters to form teams and raise money in their own networks, video fundraising with donation links embedded directly in your videos, donor outreach tools to improve donor retention, a complete Salesforce integration, and more. Some fundraising platforms are going to charge more if your organization grows, but not Click and Pledge. The pricing is going to stay the same even as your donor base increases and grows. There are no contracts. All of their solutions are included at no extra cost. So they are really a great option for you if you are growing your fundraising right now. Learn more about Click and Pledge's fundraising solutions, and you can get a month free using the links below this video. Go ahead and get in contact with their team, ask any questions you have, and schedule a demo, or you can even sign up to give it a try right now. Like I said, all the links to learn more about Click and Pledge are below this video. I'll see you for the next episode of Changemaker Cafe.